Hello. What are you doing here? I assume that you have signed up to my email, and this is why you are being brought to this video. So welcome. My name is Chris Fox, and this is going to be an introduction to CARs, controlled articular rotations. I practice this and I teach this mainly because it is something so important to use your joints every day so that you don't have pain or discomfort, so that your joints can move freely, that they have range of motion, that we are strong, and that we have awareness around how our joints actually work. So, this is going to be a short video going through the major joints of the body, and feel free to use this in your daily practice as a warm-up, as a sort of a self-massage, that's what I call it, and hopefully you will find that something changes. Hopefully you will find that something is gonna feel different, and maybe that will be applicable to whatever practice that you have, if it's yoga, if it's fitness, whatever it is. This is a very good addition to it. So, we're gonna start by coming into a comfortable seat. If that is sitting down on your knees, or if it's cross-legged, just get comfortable. Now, if you're kneeling, which I'm actually going to say I'm going to recommend that, pad something up for your knees or your ankles, whatever feels comfortable for you. And what we're going to start with is the neck. So we're going to place our fingers down on the floor, and they can be wherever it is where you are having your arms, because we all have different lengths of our arms. So fingertips or hands down, or if it's onto something, or even on your knees. You decide. So, with my palms or hands down upon the floor, I'm going to drift the back of my head back. And then my chin becomes a little bit tucked, and then once I'm there, I'm going to start to tuck the chin a lot more. Now I'm going to go from this position and start to slide and glide my chin over towards the right shoulder. Once I can't go any further, and I'm actually using a little bit of tension here to I want to look over my shoulder, but I don't want to turn the rest of my spine. So I just want to move my neck, everything else stays stable. Here I want to kind of lean back a little bit with my right ear and lift the left ear up. And then from here I'm going to make a big half circle of my chin to the left shoulder, and then down towards the center. So I go back in the same direction I went in, over to the left, lean back, lift up, big wide circle, and down to the center again. A few more rounds. So all these movements that we will be doing in this video, they are circular, they are repetitive, but they are addressing the joint and how much it can move in the space that it is in. Now, if you feel any pain or discomfort or pinching, I want you to make the circle a little bit smaller. I want you to move through a pain-free range as much as possible. We're going to go one more round. Chin goes over toward the right, half circle over to the left, down and back again. Good. Lifting the head up, relaxing the arms a little bit. Now, if you have long arms like I do, maybe you have to tuck your toes under. If you don't have those long arms, you're perfectly fine where you are. Or you can just extend your arms out a little bit. Make fists with your hands. And what we're going to do now is focus on the scapula, the shoulder blades, and how to move them in circular motions. So we're going to lift them up towards the ears, and then slide them back, kind of pushing them towards one another like they're kissing, and then down towards the hips, and then away from each other by moving the shoulders forward, up, back, down, and forward. So we can go for these 4 points, up, back, down, and forward. And then we can add a little bit of more of a circular motion. Now, how do we know if we have individual joint movement? Well, we can look at the elbows, and we can look at the spine and the neck. Are we doing a bunch of this? Or can we actually stabilize everything and just move the specific joint that we are targeting. So how do we do that? Well, we create tension. What I mean by that is contracting muscles in areas that we're not moving, but we are contracting them so that we can keep them still. This contraction also creates a little bit more fatigue and strength. It's a very simple, no weight kind of strength training. We can go in the opposite direction as well. And we're trying to articulate these rotations, hence the name, controlled articular rotations. Let's go for a few more rounds. Last one. And relax. So we're going to move into the shoulder. I'm going to come to the side here. Now, we can be kneeling or we can be in a toe sit. What I want you to do is to place your hands down in front of you and kind of arch your back a little bit so that you're lifting yourself up, kind of pushing the floor away. And then from here, I want you to take your right arm and lift it straight forward, palm facing up over the left arm. So you're kind of dragging with a straight arm, so we're not bending the elbow here either. We're dragging the arm towards the other hand, but not going so that we move the right shoulder down. We're actually stabilizing the shoulders as if both hands are on the ground. So you want to imagine that, you want to maintain that tension so that we're not moving around with the spine. So with the right arm to the side, you want to lift it straight forward in front of your face and to your right ear. Once you're here, palm is now facing towards the left, you want to rotate the palm down and towards the right. And keep rotating until you can't rotate anymore. Now, to rotate even further, you want to move that right arm back. Now keep rotating as you move the arm back. Still rotating, palm is still facing out towards the right, fingers touch the floor. And then extend the arm back. Rotate it back up close to the ear. And then down again. Lifting up. Internal rotation. Try to maintain your torso centered, shoulders even. As you externally rotate. And down again. Lifting up. Rotating internally. Going back and down. Feel that tension throughout the body. Not a rigidness, not a stiffness, but it's a directive tension. So the tension is directed in towards the right shoulder as you move. Lifting back up, rotating, and coming down. Nice. You want to switch sides to the left. Sitting back, stabilizing, pushing the floor away, taking the left arm, and then lifting it up to the side of the ear. Internal rotation, slowly moving it back. Still rotating into that internal rotation as you lift up an extension. External rotation. And down. Now if you notice any strangeness, if it's discomfort or pain or pinching, like I said with the neck, you want to take it slow and you want to make a smaller circle. So we want to slow down in those areas where we feel it the most. As you can notice, that's my area. And we are just giving ourselves an assessment of how we are feeling and how our joint is working. And the more we have freedom and range of motion in our joints, the more we can apply them to different angles and positions and pushing, pulling, all of these different ways that just make us up as humans. Last one. Coming down and release. So we're going to move into the spine a little bit more. And what we're going to do is called a T-spine rotation. So the thoracic spine that is connected to the ribs the middle part of the spine that we want to move. We're going to do 2 exercises for that. So the first one is to just crossing your arms over, your arms or to your shoulders. And you want to lift yourself up a little bit. So you want to lift up your spine. And then tuck your chin again, and then push your elbows in towards your chest, and then begin to round your spine so that you're looking down between your legs. And then slowly begin to twist over towards the right. Keep your hips still. Lean that right shoulder back. Lift up the left shoulder. Keep your chin tucked as you lift your heart up. Rainbow shape, half circle, all the way over to the left. A little bit of a lateral lean here. And then rolling forward to the center. Over to the left with a twist. Lean that left shoulder back, lift the right shoulder up. Elbows pressed down, chin pressed down as you lift the chest up, down, and forward. Over to the right, lean back, lift up. Rainbow shape over to the left side, down, rounding, and back. Lift, lateral lean, and flexion. One more round. So from that rounded position, twisting first, lifting up. And down in front of the center, back again. Beautiful. We don't move the thoracic spine enough, and this is why we do this movement right here. We're going to do one more exercise for the spine, and we're going to come into a tabletop position. It's going to be a little bit different. It's a spinal segmentation. So you want to have your hips over your knees, your shoulders over your wrists. You want to push the floor away a little bit here for this first one. So what we're going to do is we're going to tuck the tailbone, and we're going to push the spine up towards the ceiling or the sky, and then we're going to tuck our chin in. From here, I'm going to segment my spine very slowly from the bottom. So I'm slowly beginning to arch my lower back, tilting my hip. I'm moving into my middle back. I'm moving into my upper back, pushing the floor away still with my hands. And the last thing that lifts is my head. Now I come into an arching position. I want to move back into a rounded position. Tucking the tailbone in, pushing the sit bones together. Start to round, push the floor away. The last thing that comes down is the head. So arching, segmenting each vertebrae, beautifully flowing with control, with awareness. Now a good trick for you is to film yourself doing this so that you can observe the movement, because it's a different sensation from what we're feeling and what we're actually seeing when we observe ourselves. So you can go ahead and give this a try. Set up your camera phone and just film yourself moving like this. And neutralize again. Good. Coming into a kneeling position again. We're going to go for a few more for the upper body. So we're going to get into the elbows. It's a very simple movement. The elbow is kind of a hinge joint, but it also has a little bit of supination and pronation. So we're going to start off, I call this a spiritual biceps curl. So we're going to start off with our elbows tucked in. We're going to keep our palms flat, open, and we're going to imagine that there's a heavy weight. Let's call it our ego. Onto our palms. Some people have heavier ones than others, I know. And what we're going to do now is contract the muscles all throughout your arms. And we're going to move like this biceps curl, but without any weight on. So what you want to do is move your palms towards your shoulders. Still, palms and hands are rigid, so we're not trying to touch or get closer to them. We're just trying to get the base of the palm close to the shoulders. Hold that tension alive as you slowly turn your palms forward as much as you can. And then begin to extend the arms out. Keep that tension alive as you rotate the palms forward again and lifting up. Hold that tension throughout the entire movement. So we're not slacking anywhere. We're using that tension, learning how to direct tension throughout the body, learning how to keep it still in other areas that we don't want to move. We want to focus solely on one joint at a time. Just a few more. You can choose to increase the tension here. Last two. And one more. And release. Shake it out a little bit. So we're going to move into the wrist. We're going to stay in the same position as we just did. From here, we're going to imagine that there is an object, a very valuable object, that you don't want to drop and break it. Don't put anything there. It's just for your imagination. Some kind of object. If you have a tattoo or anything, I have a lot, you can imagine that that tattoo or that marking wants to be up towards the sky or the ceiling the entire time. So we don't want to pronate or supinate into the elbow or the forearm. We want to keep that still. And once we hold that still, drag your fingers down and imagine that your fingernails go back towards the elbow. So really increase tension here to drag your fingers back. And then slowly, without moving the forearms, begin to move the fingers towards one another. Keep a little bit of rigidness into your hands, up towards the ceiling or the sky, and then out away from each other. So it's the same movement as we've done with all the other joints, is the full articular rotation for that specific joint. We're all going to have different degrees of motion, different ranges, but they are designed to move. They are designed to be moving with tension. And the more we learn to do this, the easier your yoga practice will become, the easier it is for you to pick up and move furniture or groceries or your kids, whatever it is that you do, anything with any type of weights. And once your joints begin to function like joints, then when they know what to do, all the other joints will cooperate much better. Rather than compensate and begin to function a little bit worse because other joints begin to get a little bit of overload compared to the other joints that don't know what to do. So all we're doing here in this video is training the joints to be joints. It's very simple. Just going to do one more round in this direction. Coming down, and then we're going to switch. Fingers away from each other, up and towards one another. The more tension you create, the more fatigue you create or will feel. And it's not about how many reps you do. It's about the intention and spending time in tension. So time under tension is how we build muscle. It's how we get stronger. And it's how we create more range. So, except for flexibility, that's a little bit different. We can get into that another time if you want to. So we're going to do one more round on this way. And fingers come down, palms open, and relax. Whew. One fun thing that we're going to do is the fingers as well. So I want you to take your fingers and fold them in like you're looking at your fingernails. Now look at your own fingernails, and you're going to have some fun with this. I'm betting that you're going to make this into a party trick with your family or friends. So you want to push them down, so you're creating this little Y shape of your fingers. Once you have them, you've engaged all the joints in the fingers now, thumbs begin to move out and extend as much as they can. All the other fingers, they do not move. Thumbs come back in, fold into the joints. Index finger lifts up, straighten it out as much as you can, and then fold it back in. Look at your own fingers. Middle finger, this is easy. We do this all the time, right? Even though we might be spiritual people or whatever. And then coming back down. This is a fun one. So we're going to extend the ring finger. I can do one side, but the other one I'm still working on. Notice if all the other fingers begin to move or want to follow along, or they don't want to cooperate at all. Slowly coming back down, and pinky goes up again. And down. So thumbs, index, middle, ring, and pinky. Give that a try a few times, a few rounds. Shake out your fingers and move them around a little bit. We're going to come into the hips. For that, we're going to stand up. So now we've been sitting a lot. So something that I use that is very simple and easy that you can use as well is just be by a wall or a pillar or something that you can hold on to. We want to eliminate the aspect of balance so that we can focus on the movement of the hip. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hold on to this pillar or railing here, and I'm going to lift up the foot that is furthest away from what I'm holding on to. Now, I want to try to lift up the knee so it goes completely outside from my hips, straight out, straight in front. I want to hold this in a 90-degree angle. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try to stabilize the entire body as I begin to move that knee out to the side. So I want to move it as far as I can without shifting the rest of my body. This is the interesting part. This is the hard part. I'm going to rotate without moving my knee so much. I can place my hand in front. I'm going to try to rotate my foot as high as I can without moving the knee so much, without tilting into my pelvis, without dropping the knee so much. I'm going to lift it up, and then when I can't go any further, might feel a little bit of a cramp here, and that's okay. I want to move back. Now I'm feeling that tension coming into my hand as well as I'm holding myself up. My knee goes back and down. Notice that my foot is still pushing in towards my butt rather than slacking. So I want to keep that tension alive. Now here is the interesting part. I want to move my knee back, but without moving my upper body back. And then I want to move it out to the side. And then I want to keep the knee where it is, but I want to move the foot down and forward a little bit. Maybe the pelvis tilts a little bit, and that's okay for now. And then I'm going to move it forward and then down. So let's do one more round on this side, and I invite you to pause the video to do as many reps as you please for doing this. I go between 5 and 10 reps for each of the joints. Just for simplicity's sake and for shortening down the video, I'm just showing a few rounds, and then you can pause and do it by your own. So one more round on this side, lifting the leg up, out to the side, stabilize the body. Imagine that you're a statue. So the more tension you create, the easier it is to be stable. We're going to switch to the other side. Holding on, creating tension already. This is an internal rotation. We don't do this a lot, and that's why this might be the hardest movement that you're trying for. This is a good way to gain more range in doing this motion. Slowing it down. And notice the areas where more tension is being created to cooperate, to find an agreement, an integration of the body and how it actually works. So even though we're just moving the hip capsule, it sends out information to all these other areas to learn to direct tension, to learn to hold tension, and to learn to increase tension. So the hip, very important one. Go ahead and try that a few reps and introduce this into your daily life. I guarantee you, you're going to feel more buttery joints. It's going to feel way more accessible for your yoga practice and other things as well. So we got 3 more things to go through: knees, ankles, and toes. So have a seat and then take from your right side, so your right arm hooks underneath your right leg. Lean back a little bit so your heel lifts. And then you want to grab your left biceps. You can either place your left hand on top of the knee or just holding onto it. What we're trying to do is squeeze the leg towards our hips. Let's wait for that engine to move away. So what I'm going to do here is move just the knee joint. That's why I'm blocking my hip, blocking a lot of other movements that I don't want to do. I just want to focus on the knee joint. So I'm putting this sleeper hold onto my knee. And then look at my right foot as I'm turning it out towards the right. as much as I can. This is the tibia bone rotating into the knee joint. And this rotation is what we need so that we can eliminate or at least mitigate potential injury for the knee, because the tears that we usually feel is because of lack of rotation. Not flexion and extension, but lack of rotation. This is what we're working on in a very gentle way, and we can increase that with different variations. That's for another video. So, to start, turn the toes out to the right as much as possible. Hold onto the leg tightly and begin to extend your leg as much as you can. If that is 2/3 of the way, go for that. You don't have to extend your leg all the way, but maintain tension as you hold this. At the very top, where you're at your maximum, turn the toes in towards the left and then fold the leg down and maintain tension so that you're not releasing tension and just pushing up and then relaxing, but you're actually holding tension alive the entire time. So, toes turn to the left when you go down, toes turn to the right when you go up. You can switch halfway through and go in the opposite direction. It's about the rotation in the knee joint that we want to engage into. If you feel a shaking when you move like this, and you feel a tightness in the back of your legs, it's perfectly fine. That shaking can be seen or felt as it's a neurological response of the nervous system sending signals to the muscles, and the muscles are trying to figure out what to do. With time, that shaking will reduce because you're training your body to do something it has not done before. The more we do repetitive stuff for the body, the easier it learns, and then you have more ranges of motion, levels of freedom, and a lot of other things. So we're going to do 2 more on this side. Last one. And relax. We're going to maintain on the same leg. This time, we're just going to move the hand down a little bit further if you want to. And now we're trying to stabilize the knee because we're going to get into the ankle. So you'll notice with your left hand on the knee that the knee actually moves. Can you actively, not with your hand, but with your knee and with the muscles in your knee, stabilize the knee and just try to move the ankle? That's the hardest part. So we're trying to make big wide circle with the ankle here. So really feel that articulation, an exaggeration if you please. Wide circles. And let's switch direction. Same thing here. Many ankle injuries occur because there is a rotational deficiency, that the ankle doesn't know what to do in these awkward positions that it doesn't spend a lot of time in because of repetitive behavior, because of habits, because of lack of movement. 2 more rounds on this side. And release, shake it out a little bit, and then switch your legs. Hook into the left leg, pull it back in towards your chest, turn the toes to the left, and begin to extend. Turn the toes in towards the right, and fold. Squeeze the leg a little bit, turn it out, and lift, turn it in, and fold. Nice little breeze coming in today. So we're training our joints to speak the language that they are meant to speak. The knee joint wants to speak like a knee joint. The ankle wants to speak like an ankle. The spine wants to speak the beautiful language of the spine. And if we're training that to do those things without putting any weight on or progressive load, when we begin to put load onto them, when we get into weight training or arm balances, handstands, other things that we put demands on it, then it actually knows what to do because it already learned to speak the language naturally, instead of giving it a bunch of tasks that it might not be prepared to do. Let's switch direction here for a few rounds as well. Let's do 3 more. And 1 more. And slowing it down. Switching grip a little bit, focusing on the ankle. Noticing if there is a movement happening in the knee or if it's just muscles and tissue moving with it. Most likely it is that. We're trying to stabilize the knee, just giving some tactile sensation with the right hand and trying to make as big wide circles as we can. And a few more, switching direction if you need to. And slowly shake that out. The last part that we're going to do is the toes. This is the fun part. This is another party trick that you want to use with your family and friends. Look at your big toes. Have a seat where you can place your hands back. You can do this standing eventually if you want to try that. For now, we're just going to sit down and we're going to look at our big toes. So we're going to press the big toe mound down into the ground. We're going to push the other toes down and we're lifting the big toes up as high as possible. Hold them there for a little while and then let them go again. Now, maybe you're the one that is doing this now, trying to lift it up, and that's okay. But your big toes are very well functioning on their own, and we can use that to strengthen this joint. Now, you're walking on these feet every day. This joint can take a lot of pressure. If you're running, jumping, so many things that you do in your everyday life, these joints can take it. So we want to train them to be articulate in moving independently as well. So we're not just putting pressure onto them and actually creating more pain and discomfort, but we're actually giving them a task that is theirs inherently. This is what they're meant to do. So give it a big toe up and then coming back down. Let's do it one more time. Big toe lifts. Hold it there. Tension. Drag your toes towards the knees as much as you can. Really engage. Hold it there for 3, 2, 1, and release. Wiggle out your toes a little bit. And have a seat. So, we've moved through all the major joints of the body. We have explored the range of motion that we have. We've noticed if we have pain or discomfort or pinching. If you experience anything of those, feel free to reach out to me, please. I don't want you to move through pain. I don't want you to have pain at all. I don't want you to have pain when you wake up and roll out of bed. I want you to feel liberated, strong, supple, and free within your body. So, thank you for joining in on this free video of joint articulation. My name is Chris Fox. I hope to hear from you. Thank you for signing up for the email list, and I will see you soon again.